Hey there, it's Garrett, and kind of got a little backlog of vacation videos to show you. This is CrossFit Bishop, one of the gyms that I went to on my trip up to Mammoth. As you can see here, they got some rowing machines, some glute ham, raised benches, bunch of boxes to jump to, some mats that I noticed after the fact. Wish I'd seen those for floor press. They had a bunch of Rogue equipment, both bars and racks, ton of clips. A lot of good ones there. I tried both kind of the spring-loaded ones as well as the grippers, which were pretty good as well. They had a lot of the. It wasn't the Rogue power bars. They were the just the Rogue basic Rogue bar for Olympic lifting, 20 kilogram, and there you can see on the end. But a lot of good stuff in this gym. So if you're in the Bishop area, which is kind of about 45 minutes outside of Mammoth, if anybody knows where that is. It's kind of central California. They got a bunch of racks on the wall. They have some metal plates as well as bumper plates, and it was really the only place in the area where I could squat up to 500. Most of the other gyms just had those real thick, like 3-inch bumpers, and so just couldn't use them. That said, this bar was a little whippy. You can see that there's a lot more bar movement, especially at the top of the squat as I lock things out. Additionally, as I went down, there was just a lot of jiggling back and forth as the majority of the weight was really out to the end of the bar. I couldn't have fit probably much more than, I would say 550. And doing 600 with this particular bar would have been a little bit difficult, but overall not too bad. They were also very helpful as far as with powerlifting. They were very accommodating. They gave me a corner of the gym. Just let me do my thing. I was on this rack probably for about an hour and a half, and I could have been on there even longer. Colin is the main contact at CrossFit Bishop, real nice guy, and he did a nice thing even before I had met him. He just said, come in, and if you want to walk in, that's great, and just pay whatever you think your experience was worth. So I don't know if he'll do that for everybody. He did that for me. I was very appreciative. He was a very hospitable guy. They had some classes going on at this time as well. Even though they had classes scheduled, they still let me go in there. It worked best with my schedule as well. Again, very accommodating gym. As to the squats themselves, a little bit difficult being up in this altitude. Usually I train right at sea level pretty much, and though Bishop isn't up in the mountains, it's definitely a little bit higher elevation than what I was used to. And so coming back to San Diego where I'm at now, it was actually a little bit easier. This was about a week and a couple days ago. In any case, still getting used to the heeled shoes as far as squatting. I think I have a little bit more forward knee travel on this day than I would have liked. I think that's just me being used to squatting in flat shoes. I'm getting a little bit too much forward lean because I've patterned that movement after squatting with flat shoes instead of heeled shoes. I'll get that fixed up before Nationals for sure. About 11 weeks out now, and feeling pretty good. This was the second week of a recovery block, and so the weights are still pretty light, heavier reps, just kind of reintroducing the volume after I've had some issues with my hips and shoulders a little bit. Mostly my hips have been the issue, and so bench press felt really good on these days. Both this day and the other day I worked out. The second one, you'll see that video soon, was at a gym up in Mammoth where I did some bench press work. But really the weights are moving pretty well. I'm working specifically on locking out all of my reps to make sure I'm training full range of motion. Sometimes when I do sets of 7 like I'm doing here, I'll cut the reps short a little bit, but on this day I was really trying to lock them all the way out. Squatting was pretty difficult after the drive up there. It was about a 6.5 hour drive up to Mammoth, which was done the day before I went here. And so this kind of, also they didn't have a lot of dumbbells in this gym. I had seal rows programmed, but there was just no great place to do those. And so I ended up doing some barbell rows. Though on the barbell rows, I was a little more upright than I usually am, mostly because my lower back was really fatigued. Floor press averaged out to 325 for my 3 sets. I did 2 sets, I believe, at 335, and then 1 set at 315. And so that was kind of the day. Normally I put in a devotional message at the end of these videos, but this next one is more kind of something I was thinking about on the trip. So if you guys aren't into theological discussions or debates, you can go ahead and cut the video here. But if you are, feel free to comment in the section below because, I don't know, maybe my thoughts will be controversial. I'm not sure. But in any case, wanted to talk about James 2:24. And this is a passage that a lot of people seem to ignore, and one that I've ignored as the Protestant. If you're not familiar, one of the core tenets of the Protestant faith and the Protestant Reformation with Martin Luther is that salvation is by faith alone. And this is kind of called into question by James. And it's not as though Martin Luther was unaware of this or that Martin Luther didn't like James. I think a lot of Lutheranism in general is misunderstood, especially as Martin Luther presented it in his commentary on Galatians. Regardless, this particular verse that James is arguing is that you see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. And what he's speaking about here is Abraham, a man who both had faith in God's promises to him, but also acted on that faith. And really what James is talking about here is, if you say you have a belief, even a belief in God, that doesn't really mean anything. And it's useless, it's worthless, it's dead, it is ineffective if works do not follow from that faith. And James goes on to talk about there is no type of faith that saves if it is a type of faith or cognitive belief that has no action that results from it. Another word that I've heard used to describe or define the Greek here is pistis for faith or belief is believing allegiance. And you are aligned or you're allied with the one who you're actually serving or obeying or agreeing with. And if one says that they are a believer in Jesus, what that really means in biblical terms of faith is that they're a follower of Jesus in their actions because of their faith. They both go together. In fact, Martin Luther talked about faith and works as heat and light from a candle flame. There's one that you see and there's one that you feel but can't see, one that is invisible. The heat is invisible, which is like the faith. But the light is visible, like the works. But they are both present together with a candle. And that's something I think that's missed a lot of times in Christianity. I think if you quoted a verse that a person is not justified by faith alone but by works, a lot of Protestants would disagree with you and call that heresy. Yet that is within the scriptures that we believe. And that was something that I was reading devotionally through James on this trip and has been on my mind. So if you all out there have any thoughts or would like further discussion on that, I invite you to write some stuff in the comments below. Hopefully civil comments, and we can have a good discussion. There's no reason to get angry or frustrated. It's mostly I just would like to have a discussion if anybody's curious as I am. In any case, I hope wherever you're at, you're doing well. Blessings.